So hello and welcome to the New Gig podcast. I'm your host, Glenn Hodgson. And today I'm delighted to be joined by freelancer Nils Liedlich. How are you doing, Nils?
I'm doing great. What about you, man?
I'm doing very good, thank you. So please, give us a little bit of background about yourself, what you're doing now, and a little bit about some of the new exciting projects, professional and personal plans that you're taking.
Well, first of all, thanks so much for having me on. And okay, that's a quite a broad range of questions, but I'll start to just take a step back. So I am a AI newsletter freelancer and ghostwriter, meaning that I make my bread by writing newsletters for AI companies. And this is the venture that I started with about 2 months ago. I have
Yeah.
a background in content marketing, and I decided to just try to create my own business as a personal development tool.
Yeah.
And right now, I'm working on writing a bunch of newsletters and also expanding my services to writing courses for AI companies, as I'm toying around a lot with that. And the plan the next 6 months is to keep on writing newsletters for some cash flow, and then eventually also building out my own courses and monetize that way.
Excellent. So it's going to be teaching individuals basically how to do the newsletter, but also how to utilize AI.
Yes, exactly. That's something I've been hearing a lot from people in my environment. As I don't know how to code, I'm a tech noob for my age, right? So people kept telling me, Nils, you're really good at this ChatGPT stuff, and you know how to, write texts using ChatGPT that are actually good. And I
Yes.
was like, what? Am I really good at this? I don't think I am. But they were like, yeah, 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 sure. Like you should work with this. And since then, I've been consulting a few people on how they can use AI to streamline their workflows.
Yeah.
And there, I'm specifically working with solopreneurs and smaller businesses
Yes.
that they are doing most of the fulfillment on their own, and that's kind of where I'm targeting my courses to.
Excellent. I think this is really interesting as well, Niels, because people always talk about technology and AI replacing jobs. Here it is that AI is creating a role, ChatGPT prompter, which didn't even exist 5 months ago. No one even thought about it.
Yeah,
So I think this is just really a great example of the movement that's happening and also the new unthought of positions that are being created.
yeah, definitely. And I mean, there you're already touching on a really big topic, right? Like, for the first time ever, it's the white collar workers, not the blue collar workers, being replaced. And I think if we
Completely.
get into all of that, that's a
Mm.
that's a 4 hour podcast right there.
Yes, it is, but it's a reality. It's the fact that the architects, lawyers, consultants, and programmers, coders who are now under threat from the fact that they need to be able to deliver something different and be able to deliver the value, which is maybe a little bit complicated for them to be looking at in the first place. So I think it's very refreshing, but also interesting about the way in which this evolution is creating opportunities and almost
Mhm.
creating new roles that didn't exist previously.
Yeah, definitely. And I think something we'll see a lot of in the future is, or rather, I should say, the next 1 to 2 years is just applying the existing AI technology to all of those kind of roles.
Okay.
And in the medium term, I guess we'll see a lot of quote unquote like centaur tasks, meaning it's like half human, half AI, where
Yes.
the humans still do a lot of like quality assurance, and that's something
Yeah.
that I'm already seeing a lot in the writing space, and that's slowly
Yeah.
spinning over to other industries too. But what comes after that, that's hard to predict.
But basically, people should be worried then, Nils, that if they don't deliver value, if they're not keeping up with the new technology and how to integrate with it, then they're going to find themselves threatened, if not obsolete, pretty soon.
Yeah, I would say so, but many people keep on like hyping up this AI thing a lot. But in reality, it's always been like this, right? Like if
Mm.
you didn't jump on the computer trend uh,
Yes.
30 years ago, Like,
Yeah.
how would you do your work without the internet and without the computer? So this is,
Right.
it isn't really as if this AI is coming as this big monster, like coming and destroying all of the white collar workers. It's more like just a way that the way of working is changing, and that everybody just has to adapt to, and
Yeah.
rather be early than late.
Absolutely. I think it makes a lot of sense. And just to say a little bit more about yourself, Nils, when did you decide that a traditional 9 to 5, 5 days a week job was not really for you? What was the stage that this realization dawned upon you?
That's a great question, and I don't even know if I can say that I've ever done a traditional 9 to 5. So for
Okay.
context, I graduated from high school, gymnasium in Sweden last year.
Yeah.
And after that, I started to work full time for a personal branding agency, 40 hours a week.
Mm.
And that you could have said that that's a 9 to 5, but it was still really like startup-y, a lot of liberty for me. So I wouldn't know how it is to work like a traditional 9 to 5 corporate kind of job.
Yeah.
But even working at the startup, I I've always been, I like to take control of things in my own
Yeah.
way, and I don't like to get too much of a direction by people that supervise me. But
Okay.
I'm more like this fast break things, try to fix it afterwards, and then I just realized that I wanted to. It was a mix between wanting to try out something new and wanting to use the way of getting self-employed as quote unquote a forcing function, which is basically saying I'm getting self-employed now to reach this other goal, which was personal development.
Yes.
Because, and I don't know if you would you say that you agree on this when I say that starting your own business is one of the best ways to really supercharge your personal growth.
I would agree with that. I think whatever age you do that out, Nils, because it really forces you to have laser focus on your own skills, what's important, because it's one of the most democratic things in the world is 24 hours. Everyone has it. And how you use your time and be able to use it wisely, I think is absolutely essential. And you could be spending sort of 22, 23 hours of the day just going around in circles on boring administrative tasks that aren't taking you anywhere, or in conversations with people that aren't giving you anything to move you forward, or you can actually be building in terms of your marketing, your business proposition, and also your networking. So I think it's absolutely crucial. And yeah, I think sort of forcing yourself to jump into the cold water is probably a good way to start swimming.
I couldn't have said it better. And I think having your own business or being self-employed really puts this to the test, like your time management skills, your discipline. And it's
Yeah.
also blurring the lines because you don't have a person that's telling you this is productive and this isn't, but
Nope.
rather you're constantly trying to assess, am I doing the right things? Am I spending my time as well as I can spend it?
Yeah.
And also kind of, and I talk with my girlfriend about this a lot. She's also self-employed. It's like this thing between optimizing for the business growth and also enjoying the process, right? Like how much do we try
Yeah.
to maximize the income and business growth, and how much are we just like enjoying being self-employed and like taking a 1 hour breakfast on the terrace, and that's kind of the balance to strike.
Yeah, it is the balance to get right, because it's crucial to be out there and creating the benefits, because you're not going to have a manager, as you say. You're not going to have a timesheet that you have to fill in like a lawyer or a consultant. It's really down to you to decide what's valuable and where to spend your hours. And of course, no one's going to stop you being on TikTok for 5 hours a day. But if that's not actually going to deliver you anything, then you've probably got a bit of an issue, and you probably need to change that. So there's different ways around this in terms of how you develop it. But what you're seeing already in terms of the lifestyle, of the work style that you've chosen at the moment, what are some of the benefits and advantages of this, Nils?
I mean, the benefits is of course the flexibility. I can work from anywhere, and I can also work almost at any time.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's the paramount benefit of being self-employed. I
Yes.
think a big game changer for me was actually narrowing down my offer.
Okay.
which made it easier to streamline my processes, which means that
Mm,
I don't need to work 40 hours a week to sustain a good income.
right.
And that has allowed me to be even more flexible on which days I work. Because if you have like, I heard this once that you shouldn't ever be at 100% capacity, but more at like an 80% capacity. Because if you're at the 100% capacity as a freelancer, you are in the freelance 9 to 5 kind of thing, right? Because you have deadlines every day that you need to keep on doing.
Yeah.
So for me, it's always been essential to keep the workload relatively low and rather earn a bit less money,
Okay.
but having more time liberty. So that's kind of the benefits
Mm.
that I've seen so far.
Yeah, well, of course, you've got the flexibility to choose whatever meets your requirements and your work
Mm-hmm.
style, and that is one of the beauties. Because one thing that fits one individual won't be right for you, and it has to be tailored and it has to be specific so that you can get the most out of it professionally, but of course also personally. The balance is absolutely crucial, and you realize yourself what makes you happy and what you
Mm-hmm.
want. But what are the kind of the negative elements, if you've seen any already yet, Nils?
I think the negative element is that nobody is kicking you in the ass when you aren't doing stuff in the right way, except like yourself. So
Yeah.
that's the big problem. I struggle a lot with working from home.
Okay.
Uh, so for me, I always like to go to coffee shops
Okay.
just to like kind of get out and like have an actual routine because I don't have a separate room for where I'm living and where I'm working, so I can't really draw this line.
Okay.
And that's just improved my sleeping quality and also my work quality
Yes.
um, a lot. And apart from that, I would say, I mean, as we said, you don't have anybody telling you what's right and wrong, and
Yeah.
just that's I think a big con, which
Mm.
is you always need to see yourself if you're making the right investments, investing your time the right way,
Yeah. Yeah.
etc. And something that's really scary to me, and I think that the same goes for you and most other freelancers, is like this thought of what if I just like keep on doing the exact same thing as I'm doing right now and don't increase my income and don't grow in any way the next 10 years. And I just know that all of the effort for growth, it needs to come from myself and like
Yeah.
I just need to put in the effort. And that's a scary but also good feeling.
Yeah. Well, it is a good feeling because the potential is in your own hands. But yeah, the need for dedication, and the need for consistency is absolutely crucial.
Mm-hmm.
I fully agree with that. That's not something that's disappearing anytime
Mm-hmm.
soon. And I think digitalization is something that is really sort of transforming society and not just the world of work
Mm-hmm.
itself. But and I think that the fact that you have a role which is sort of built around sort of digitalization, you can work from
Mm-hmm.
anywhere, you can be able to deliver value to customers and clients, I think is
Mm-hmm.
testament to that. But how do you see this evolving in the future in terms of your own work setup and the use of digitalization and digital products?
That's a good question. So from the personal side, I think I'll quit Sweden because it's so damn cold here. Sorry, it's really cold in here.
In the
Uh,
winter, yeah, I can imagine.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that's kind of for me. But in general, I think what's so powerful about digitalization is the fact that you can create digital products with zero marginal cost of replication.
Okay. Yeah.
And that just gives so much leverage to one person businesses and creators like me.
Mm,
Because if I wanted to sell a product to, say, 50,000 people, just 30 years ago, I would have had to, I don't know, buy some inventory, get some stock, and just like, actually get a physical good, like a book or whatever, sent to all of those people.
mm,
And today I can simply open a Word doc. And if I just have high quality information in my head that is actually useful to other people,
right.
I can put together a digital course for them and I can distribute it via my social media. It's also free
Yeah.
distribution and free copies to all of them and have an extremely high margin on the product. And that's something that's so powerful about digitization in my eyes.
Yeah. And completely scalable. Let's be honest about it. As you say, you can
Mhm.
set the same thing to one person or 1 million people, and it's the same effort. So the marginal returns on the investment and the work you do gets bigger and bigger. And I fully agree on that. I think it's a massive advantage of how these things are working. And again, it's kind of that realization that this is happening and being able to harness the power of this revolution or this evolution, whatever you want to call it, and not be hindered by it.
Yeah, for sure. And another trend that I've been looking at with a lot of excitement is the no code movement, which means
Right.
you don't need any code anymore to create a lot of automations and workflows. Tools like Zapier or Make allow people, normies like me, to actually build automatizations and also build minimum viable products
Yeah.
that wouldn't have been possible without any coding knowledge before. And I think that in combination with other like zero marginal cost of replication and AI is just an amazing combo for solopreneurs.
I think it is too. And you're right, though, being able to use these no-code products, you need to be able to give the right prompts. You need to be able to ask the right questions to get the right thing out, though, as well. So that's also a skill in itself, Nils, that you're working with and are also mastering.
Yeah, definitely. It's just the beautiful thing about it is it's just trial and error. And with no code,
Yeah.
it's kind of like building Lego blocks together, because you have like this first app that you're connecting to the next app, and then you can always do the kind of troubleshooting as you see the history, and you're like, oh, apparently something went wrong with this Lego block, and then you're kind of
Yeah.
modifying it and improving it. And it's an amazing thing for entrepreneurs like us, because it's like, you know, the beauty of the trial and error approach kind
Yeah.
of. So
Completely, exactly. I think that's good. What about the elements of movement? You said you're not too keen on Nordic winters. I hear you've got a bit of a plan to how to avoid that, Nils.
yeah, and right now it's not certain yet where I will move,
Okay.
but I plan to work a lot from Lisbon this fall, and then
Yes.
we'll see what happens after that. Uh, I think that, and you've certainly spoken to a lot of digital nomads that have lived this lifestyle for way longer than I have. But I
Right.
think at the end of the day, moving to places like Thailand and stuff, it's awesome for the weather.
Yeah.
But you know, you always want to be closer to family, or what you think. I mean, there's also a reason why you're in Stockholm and not in Indonesia.
Yeah, this is also personal choice as well. I mean, if you're sort of a European base, I think also there's the time zone issue, there's the closeness to
Mm-hmm.
family and friends, and there's also the
Mm-hmm.
fact that, you know, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live out of a backpack and have kind of a very basic amenities and services around you, or do you want something
Mm-hmm.
a little bit more familiar in that sense? And yeah, shout out to Lisbon. There's a lot of things going on there. It's a popular destination for freelancers and solopreneurs. And I think it's also something as well, Niels, that a lot of countries and particularly cities need in their destination marketing, they need to move beyond tourism and also attracting corporations, and actually think about
Mm-hmm.
this broader class of flexible talent, flexible workers, that they should be
Mm-hmm.
trying to attract with not just a sunny destination, but also facilitation
Mm-hmm.
in terms of the social security, the taxes, the accommodation, all
Mm-hmm.
these things around it to try and make themselves as interesting and as accessible as possible to
Mm-hmm.
digital nomads and freelance talent.
Yeah, definitely. And one thing that I noticed here that I wasn't really aware of before becoming a freelancer is how hard it actually is to find high quality information about the
Yeah.
regulations of where you work.
Yes.
Like just working with an American client, for example, I need to fill out this W-8 form.
Oh
I
my
need
goodness, yes.
to,
The new things there. That's a difficult one. And then all your details and to show that you're not registered in the US. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, all that kind of stuff. And I think that that's just so, it's just so many barriers to the future
Mm.
of work in that way that still can be removed. And I think Sweden, now I'm not a tax expert, right? But comparing the American tax system that's like famously really difficult to file taxes with Sweden, where I can just log in with my ID and file my taxes in
Yeah.
like 15 minutes, something like that for freelancers on a global basis would be awesome
Yeah.
to just lower the friction of having kind of this global labor market where people can move freely without having to worry about, oh, am I paying the right taxes? Like, am I
Mm.
just bookkeeping this right according to this law and all that jazz? That's
Mm.
something that I hope to see more of in the future.
Well, you and me both, and also more clarity in terms of where you're based and where you pay your taxes, because I think that's a legitimate issue that a lot of freelancers and digital nomads have, is where they pay that. If they're moving to several places, they need to
Mhm,
have a base. They want to be able to pay their taxes, and with all good faith, they want to be able to do it. But to have clarity between the tax authorities to ensure that they're
mhm,
allowed to do it properly, and also as compliant as possible in terms of their approach.
mhm. Yeah, and of course it's difficult for the tax authorities too, right? If you have, let's say, you, Glenn, are moving around every quarter to a new country, it's like, okay, where are you actually supposed to pay your taxes? It's
Yeah.
a just a completely new environment, but yeah, I'm sure we'll figure something out. And
We
sorry.
have to find, because this is the, I mean, I think that also we talk a lot, Niels, about the future of work, but I think increasingly what we're talking about here is the present of work.
Mhm,
People are choosing this as a lifestyle. People are choosing this as a way to be able to organize themselves. So it's no longer
mhm,
the radical fringe activity that it was maybe sort of 10, 20 years ago. Now it's much more common, and I think in the future, I think we've reached the
mhm.
tipping point. I think more and more people will be choosing this as a legitimate option.
Yeah, definitely. It's like once you've gotten to the point where you can work from anywhere, there's no going back. And I think we'll see more countries incentivizing digital nomads or freelancers to come and work with them. I mean, we're seeing it with Spain introducing
Yeah.
their digital nomad visa.
Hmm.
Um, but as you said, there are other ways to incentivize people to come to your country other than just like the tax incentives as you have in Portugal and Cyprus, but also
Yes.
actually like creating a good quality of life. And I
Yeah.
think that something that I've been looking at a lot with considering to move to Lisbon is that having so many digital nomads around actually increases the rental prices there by a bunch, making
Okay.
it difficult for locals to find accommodation at
Mm,
realistic prices. And
I
that's
see.
also another dynamic to it where I'm like, how can I travel to a place, quote unquote, ethically and like not taking the home of a bunch of like local people.
Right.
And that's also where I think that there is still some kind of need for regulation in the countries that are actually
Okay.
trying to attract digital nomads to make it sustainable for them.
Okay. Yeah, if not, we can get this kind of roller coaster boom and bust where everyone's desperately trying to get as many digital nomads as possible to boost the economy. And then there's too many. You're not able to be able to give them accommodation, or they drive the prices up. And then you have to almost like limit it to force them out and have less. So you get this kind of like roller coaster effect that you get too many, then you'll end up with too little, and you'll have to start the whole process over again. So I think probably a longer term look at this will indeed be important, and I think that that social element as well, whether it's short term or longer term, to be part of the local fabric of the population, is an important consideration as well.
Yeah, and there you're touching on another incredibly interesting topic, which is how will we stay social when everybody works from anywhere in the world? And
Right.
that's something that's also becoming increasingly relevant with discussion of AI.
Mm,
Like the more AI takes over, the less human interaction, and the more digitization, the less human interaction. And if everybody is becoming kind of their own one-person business, or
Mhm.
what, like a freelancer working with bigger corporations, who are you actually spending time with? What's your
Right.
office, and how are we creating a new social environment for all those people?
Yeah.
And I think I found part of the answer to that in joining digital communities and
Okay.
doing paid digital courses that gather people with the same interest. But it's still, I'm talking to many solopreneurs that feel lonely in that aspect because they don't know
Yeah.
how to meet people in person.
Yeah, this is the negative side. This kind of that the human cloud makes everything possible, but also that more close proximity, more intimate relationships, perhaps more difficult because the fact that there's always the screen, there's always the distance that gets you so
Mhm.
far, but doesn't sort of bring you into the human contact. But maybe that actually puts more of a premium on human contact, and also more of the fact that you can't really believe anything unless you have it in front of you, because everything you see, hear, and listen to these days, there's always that sort of sort of question mark: is this real or not?
Yeah, definitely. And one of my predictions for the future is that we'll have some kind of verification system for information,
Right.
because as AI lowered the cost of creating new information by 1,000-fold,
Mm.
new high quality information that is, we'll just have such an overflow of disinformation that
Right.
we will need new solutions to verify the source and validity of information.
Yeah, no, I believe so too, and I think it goes beyond the simple blue tick type approach that we have at the moment. But I think it's going to be interesting. I think we've got a sort of a fantastic sort of setup ahead of us, and it's a great time to be alive, Nils, and actually making the most of it. So I really appreciate you sharing a few of your first steps of this journey, and it would really invite you to come back in a few months' time and explain what you've been doing, what you've learned, and pass on your advice.